All right, I'll go ahead and call this meeting to order, and welcome to all of our guests today. Thank you for coming to our meeting. We'll start with roll call, and if we can start with Mark.
Mark Sloan.
Steve Astrup.
Lisa Kildy.
Ryan Weinzierl.
Mike Rader.
Chad Olson.
And on the staff side, we have Peyton Mastera.
And Don Larson.
All right, thank you. Next item on the agenda is the agenda approval for today's meeting. Is there a motion?
So moved.
And a motion, do we have a second?
Second.
And a second. All those in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? All right, motion passes. And on to the next item is the approval of the minutes from November 5th, 2025 Planning Commission meeting. Is there any questions or comments, or is there a motion to approve?
I did see an error in section 6A. In the top part, it mentions $7,000 for the border city tax credit, and the motion says $7,500. So I think it's clerical to fix it in 6A.
Yep, we got you.
The motion itself was correct at $7,500.
Perfect, thank you.
Yep.
Okay, so just to change to the 7,500.
Correct.
Okay,
Good catch.
all right. Other than that, do you have a motion?
I'll motion to approve it with those changes.
All right, we have a motion. Is there a second?
Second.
And a second. All those in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? All right, motion passes. On to the next item on the agenda is
Madam
our
Chair,
public
before
hearing.
you
Yes,
start
Chad?
that, maybe you ask the public to make sure that they sign in as a matter of public record so we could have attendance.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. If everyone didn't have a chance before, if you could sign in at the back table there. Thank you, appreciate that. Okay, our public hearing. We have two items for public hearing today. I'll introduce the first item, and we will go into the open public hearing for that. We'll have a staff presentation, and then that will be open for public comment after that, if anyone would like. We just do ask that if anyone does come up for the open public comment, that you come up to the podium to speak. Okay, so we'll open the public hearing at 5:37. And was a copy of the public hearing notice and a list of the, we didn't have a list of the owners. Okay, all right. So we'll just do a staff presentation on this.
Yep, very well. I'll invite MetroCog staff, Adam, to come on up and do this on behalf.
Perfect.
Thank you, Madam Chair.
Yes.
Appreciate your time tonight. My name is Adam Walterberg, and I'm with the Park Moorhead Metropolitan Council of Governments, and I'm here tonight to present the final draft of the Dilworth Comprehensive and Transportation Plan. So for tonight, what I'd like to go through briefly.
I got you.
So we'll talk about plan contents. We'll talk a little bit about the community input and key issues that we heard throughout this planning process. We'll talk about the vision for the future that we've developed here for this plan. Talk about recommendations, and I know this is something that we focused on a lot last month. We're going to go through them again tonight, so bear with us. But these will reflect all the different changes that we heard from last month, incorporating them here for tonight. After that, talk a little bit about implementation. So what is your responsibility? What's the city's responsibility after this comprehensive plan is approved? And then with that, then after plan adoption goes. So plan contents. Just kind of briefly touching about what is in this comprehensive plan. So we do have background information. Just what is a comprehensive plan? Why is it important? Thank you, Peyton. Community profile, which talks about demographics for the city regarding population, household growth, education, and the like, and what's projected throughout the years up to 2045, 2050. We talk about housing, what the current housing stock looks like in the city of Dilworth, and whether that's owner-occupied, rentals, those sorts of different dynamics. Land use, this was a very important concept with this comprehensive plan, so we do talk about current land use within the city, but also developing a future land use plan, which we'll talk about here a little bit later tonight. So what the city would like to see in terms of residential growth, commercial growth, where they'd like to see that, and so forth. Again, we'll talk about that here later on tonight. Transportation, so this plan looks at different roadway improvements, bicycle pedestrian needs, transit, and then what some of the future construction needs would be for the community. Those are reflected here in this plan. Public facilities and utilities, that's another section that's highlighted. Natural and cultural resources, economic development. intergovernmental cooperation, and then, again, some recommendations and implementations, which are incorporated within each chapter. So for community input, we kicked off this plan in early March 2025. We had an online survey, interactive map, that went live on April 2nd and then ran from April 2nd to May 23rd. So this included a survey that people could take online. It also had an interactive map where people could actually pinpoint specific actions that they'd like to see within the city. So if they wanted, if there was a crossing that was unsafe, people could highlight that. If there was a park that they'd like to, a park need that they'd like to see, they could fill in a comment for that. So with that, we did receive 86 unique responses, both through the survey and the interactive map. We also held several open houses and pop-up meetings. We had an open house on April 24th. And we also had a pop-up meeting on July 25th during local days. And then we had an open house here tonight, or today, this afternoon, from 2:30 to 5:30. Also with that, after the Planning Commission meeting last month, we did have a public comment period on the draft plan. This was opened on November 10th. So, and I believe there was the public notice in the paper, as well as information on Facebook, where people could go online, take a look at the plan, and then if they wanted, they could send us comments. To my knowledge, MetroCog did not receive any additional comments during this public period. I don't know if the city received any additional comments. Okay. So key issues and themes. So this is going back to the survey and the interactive map that we had last spring. What we found were 8 reoccurring themes from the survey answers. The one that kind of popped out the most was the roadways, safety, and accessibility. Those had to do with concerns about how to safely cross Highway 10, lack of certain connectivity for bicycles, pedestrians, like sidewalk gaps, also use paths that didn't maybe connect from one area to another, or else connect from Dilworth to Moorhead safely. That was another comment, other comments that we saw with part of that. Second to that was parks and community amenities. So a lot of people talked about what they'd like to see for park amenities. Again, we are aware that the city is looking for a regional park. That was something that came up a lot in some of the survey responses. That's the amenity that would be going up north of the school there. And then thirdly, just growth and development, just concerns that to try to keep the character of Dilworth as it is, to not upset that too much, but also to acknowledge that it would be good to see if there's certain areas that are appropriate for medium density housing, for example, higher intensity housing, just to make sure that that is incorporated so that people that do prefer different housing types and want to live in Dilworth, that those are accessible to residents. So from here, I'm going to go back into the land use goals and policies. Again, we talked about these a lot last time, but these do reflect all the different changes and suggestions that we heard from the Planning Commission. So for land use goals and policies, promoting balanced, orderly growth. And maybe I'll just go for goal 1, and then I'll go through the policies here, if that's okay. So goal 1, promoting balanced, orderly growth. The policy associated with that, coordinating land use decisions with infrastructure capacity, encouraging infill development with an efficient land use before expanding city boundaries, and then maintaining a mix of housing types to serve all age groups and income levels. Goal 2, support economic development through land use. The policies for that, reserving land for commercial and industrial uses in strategic areas, reimagining downtown as a mixed-use corridor with employment and retail opportunities, and then leveraging rail access to support industrial expansion. Goal 3, preserve community character and livability. Policies for that require connectivity between neighborhoods, parks, and community facilities. Use buffers and design standards to minimize land use conflicts, and maintain green space, parks, and trails as a development occurs. Goal 4, plan for future growth. The policies for that, identify and phase future growth areas to align with infrastructure planning, coordinate land use decisions with school district, utility providers, and county partners, and use annexation policies that support logical, cost-effective expansion. The next set of goals relate to, oh, I think we skipped housing. Thank you. So housing goals and policies. First goal is to provide a range of housing types and price points. The policies for that encourage the development of all housing types, support housing that serve a mix of incomes, ages, and household sizes, and consider incentives to promote workforce housing and fill housing gaps in the Dilworth community. Goal 2, promote housing quality and neighborhood vitality. Policies for that, enforce property maintenance standards and support housing rehabilitation programs, encourage high-quality design in new residential developments, and preserve and enhance established neighborhoods through reinvestment. Goal 3, address the needs of seniors and special populations. Policies for that, support development of senior housing and assisted living facilities, promote accessible design in new housing, universal design principles, and also coordinate with local and regional service providers to support aging in place. Lastly, encourage infill and redevelopment. One more. Thank you. Identify strategic sites for infill housing near downtown and Highway 10, and then support mixed-use development in key areas such as Highway 10 and the Rail District. Next, we have transportation. Goal 1, ensure a safe and efficient street network. The policies for that, maintain and improve key corridors like Highway 10, 34th Avenue, and 15th Avenue. Address intersection safety, signage, and traffic calming. Address intersection safety, signage, and traffic calming across the community. And then plan for long-term road capacity and pavement maintenance. Goal 2, expand multimodal transportation options. Policies for that, develop and implement a citywide sidewalk and trail master plan. Add bike lanes and off-street paths to support cycling for recreation and commuting. And improve pedestrian crossings near schools, parks, and commercial centers. Goal 3, improve public transit access and use. Policies for that, work with MapBus to expand service hours, frequency, and coverage. Explore options for transit stops and park and ride facilities near future growth areas, and promote transit use through education and coordination with senior housing, schools, and employers. Lastly, enhance connectivity and mobility across the city. Policies for that, create more connections between neighborhoods and between residential areas and commercial or public facilities. Seek funding for overpass or safe crossings across the Burlington Northern Santa Fe Rail Corridor, and use land use planning to support walkability and reduce vehicle dependency. 4 is we go on to infrastructure goals and policies. Goal 1, maintain and upgrade core infrastructure. Policies for that, prioritize investment in water, sewer, and stormwater systems based on condition and growth patterns. Implement asset management practices and capital improvement programming. Minimize system disruptions through proactive maintenance, and continue partnerships and intergovernmental coordination with neighboring jurisdictions. Goal 2, plan for long-term growth and resiliency. Policies for that, align infrastructure investment with the future land use plan, coordinate utility expansion with phased development and annexation strategies, and design systems that can withstand extreme weather events and changing climate conditions. Goal 3, provide high-quality public spaces. Policies for that, maintain high standards for police, fire, and emergency response, ensure equitable access to clean water, sanitation, broadband, and solid waste services, and evaluate and modernize public facilities for efficiency and accessibility. 2 more to go. Parks and recreation goals and policies. Goal 1, provide high-quality, accessible parks and facilities. The policies for that, maintain and upgrade existing parks to ensure safety, accessibility, and relevance. Incorporate inclusive play and universal design in all new facilities. And use community input to guide design and investment priorities. Goal 2, expand recreational opportunities. Policies for that, support diverse recreation programming for all age groups. Develop new parks in growth areas as development occurs. And explore new facilities such as splash pads, fitness stations, or small indoor recreation centers. Goal 3, build a connected trail and greenway network. Policies for that, complete missing links to this in the city's sidewalk and trail system. Next policy, provide safe, separated bicycle and pedestrian routes across the city, especially across Highway 10 and near schools. Coordinate with regional partners to extend trail access to Moorhead and other destinations. And then lastly, coordinate with regional partners to plan for and implement the Heartland Trail expansion across Clay County. And then lastly, goal 4, enhance environmental and community benefits. Policies for that incorporate natural features, pollinator gardens, and native landscaping into park design. Use parks and greenways as part of the city's stormwater management strategies. Promote volunteerism and civic partnerships with park stewardship. And then lastly, continue park promotion from the park board. And lastly, economic development goals and policies. Goal 1, support local business growth and retention. Policies for that, partner with the Chamber of Commerce and regional agencies to support local entrepreneurs. Encourage homegrown businesses to provide resources for startups and create programs that support business expansion and succession planning. Goal 2, expand commercial and employment opportunities. Policies for that, promote strategic commercial development along US Highway 10 and within new mixed-use areas. Attract light industrial logistics and manufacturing to industrial areas near the BNSF corridor. Ensure infrastructure investments support designated employment centers. And attract office light industrial use to the 34th Street corridor north of 15th Avenue. Goal 3, strengthen Dilworth's identity and brand. Policies for that, develop a marketing strategy that positions Dilworth as a business-friendly, family-oriented city. Highlight access to regional markets, rail, and workforce as part of business recruitment efforts. And revitalize and promote a walkable mixed-use town center or Main Street areas. And then lastly, goal 4, coordinate with regional economic development efforts. With that, collaborate with the Greater Fargo-Moorhead, EDC, Minnesota Department of Employment and Economic Development, and West Central Initiative, and support regional workforce development initiatives, technical training programs, and infrastructure funding partnerships. So with that, after plan adoption here, what is thought that once this plan is approved, or hopefully approved next week, you as planning commissioners, city staff, city council members, and others in the community, just to monitor and update the plan as you see changes in the community, consider revisions or amendments. So just to ensure that this isn't just a static document, that this can be a living document, and that you can amend it if there's potentially if there's land use that you see changes within in the next couple of years. Go back to the comprehensive plan, look at the goals and strategies, and say, do these fit what's in the plan, or do we need to maybe make some small modifications? So just making sure that this plan is a living document. As part of that too, just to have an annual review and reporting at approximately 1 year intervals. So just taking a look at the plan, taking a look and seeing where are we? Have we implemented some of the actions that have been developed as part of this plan? Are we not taking actions? Is there more that we need to be doing? Just kind of as a refresh for planning commissioners and city staffs, city council members and the like. So with that, do you want me to stop? Or do you want me to go into the land use?
I think going into it.
Okay.
Yeah.
So, again, a major component of this plan was a future land use map. If you want to go to the next slide. So this really kind of serves as the foundation of how Dilworth will grow and provides a long-range vision for land use and guiding decisions on housing, commercial development, infrastructure, and then parks and different community amenities. So back in June, we had a small task force with several planning commissioners, city staff, several of us from MetroCog. We took several hours and a number of follow-up emails to try to figure out what are some of the land uses that would be best for the city as it continues to grow. So if you want to go to the next slide. So one of the aspects that we discussed was how would how would the city of Dilworth fit with the discussions with White Earth about a new casino convention center that would be going up along 336? So we actually had several different scenarios for this area. One was more residential focused, so it had more single family, more medium density residential use within the area. We also had another scenario that was more commercial focused, so whether that's going to be looking at more convenience stores, hotels, those sorts of amenities that would help to serve people that may be coming to the area in the future for the casino and the convention center. And then we also had another scenario that was more like kind of looking at mixed use. So again, looking at the rail district, it's looking at combining residential and commercial uses, and maybe having kind of another mixed use center in that area as well. And what we decided on was kind of a hybrid of all three of those scenarios. So what you see is you do have commercial that fronts 12th Avenue and 336. But within that, you do have high-density residential. So in this, we thought would be an appropriate area to have higher density residential within the community. And then to the west, we actually do have kind of more of a mixed-use urban center. So that would maybe have some more of those residential combined with commercial uses. And we don't really show it here, but you can kind of see that where it says future BNSF overpass, we're anticipating that 14th Street would likely cross the current rail yard and then go south. So that would potentially be a future higher capacity roadway in the future, and also connecting with a potential future interchange along I-94. But we know that spacing is going to be about a half mile off, so we didn't show how that future alignment would work, but we just wanted to point out that with what we're talking about now, with different studies with MnDOT and others, just to make sure that that's all incorporated and that we've considered all those different future transportation components. From there, maybe we could go up to 8th Street.
Can I make
Or,
one?
yeah, 8th, sorry.
One quick note on this. We also met to do our due diligence, had a meeting with the city of Moorhead's planning department to make sure our land uses were aligning with their growth area plan that goes out to 336 south along on the south side of 12th Avenue is where their annexation boundary goes. Ours on the north side of 12th Avenue south there. And they seem to be in alignment and agreement with what we have put in for the future land use map, and it sort of aligns with what they're envisioning too as part of future development along through here.
Yeah.
Is there any questions about this area, I guess, before I move on?
All right. And another area that we did focus on was 8th Avenue, excuse me. So late last year, another study was completed to look at potential corridor alignments for that corridor. We discussed how the different alignments would fit with the land use. And there were 3 different alternatives that were developed as part of this corridor study. One that kind of had the roadway more to the north, one that you kind of see right now. This is the option B, and this is the one that we went with. And then there was an option C that actually kind of followed closer to the south. Looking at the pros and cons of all those different alignments, and also not wanting to minimize potential impacts to the residents that do currently live just to the south of this future corridor. We did pick this alignment B. One of the reasons for that, this is a little bit more curvilinear. The thought with that is that would actually help with traffic calming, so people wouldn't be potentially speeding down this roadway. Just so having some of those curves would help with some of those traffic calming measures. We did put in some areas of medium density. We did not put any high density along or close to this corridor. Again, not wanting to, how to say, make any larger impacts, again, to residents that are living along this corridor currently. But we do have areas of medium density. We do have a small node for mixed use that you can see there. And then again, the regional park that you see, that would be going up north of the ball fields and north of the school there. And then going from, I suppose, 14th Street then to 70th, 336, we did kind of have that as a straight shot. The reason for that, where that terminates there, that would kind of be a 90-degree intersection. If we had it more to the south, you get to that where the roadway curves. We didn't want to see that, but we didn't want to push it up too far north, where you were likely going to have another major corridor along 15th Avenue. So that's part of the reason that we settled on that roadway design, and then how the land use then fit in with that. We did have more medium density to the east there. Again, there's the thought with that, there's not any development over there right now, so again, wouldn't be upsetting a lot of the current land uses closer to the city center.
Peyton?
So,
Yes, and one remark I wanted to add about this, and you can speak to Madam Chair or anyone else on the subcommittee. One thing that the group was really trying to take into consideration, take into heart, was the metro housing study that was commissioned a couple of years ago. So I don't know if you want to speak to that just a little bit, Adam, as far
Sure.
as that serving as a motivation for a lot of their decision-making, providing this recommendation.
sure, so this was a regional housing study that was completed in 2024. And it was really kind of an impetus for the entire region to think about housing needs and how communities could best respond to workforce housing, again, higher density and that sort of thing. And then making sure that it's, how to say, maybe spread out throughout the community, so it's not just concentrated within, say, Fargo or Moorhead. So that you have people who want to live in Horace, but could actually afford to live there. So that was kind of, but again, that kind of goes into the land use and making sure that you do have those different density types, medium density and to an extent high density. So to accommodate for those different housing types throughout the community. And then lastly, so we did look at future land use north of 15th Avenue. We do know of potential commercial light industrial center that's being talked about within the city that is going forward, is my understanding. So incorporating that would be going up north 15th Avenue along 34th. And then just showing additional low and medium density housing to the north there, kind of north central part. Again, with the idea that 15th Avenue will likely be a busier corridor in the future, so having that medium density front 15th Avenue, but then having lower density single-family housing within that. So, yeah.
Steve, yes.
I have. Is that the end of the staff presentation?
I don't know. Is that it? Anything
Yeah.
else you wanted to cover?
No? Sorry. Yeah.
I just wondered if you might want to speak to the area west of Summerwood, up there in the north.
So,
It would be east of 7th.
so
The,
Oh, east of, we're here.
Yep, so
the treat area, Peyton, that is that small treat area with the medium density that's tucked in the low density, that is a.
Oh, this right
yes,
here, I'm
yes,
sorry.
Yes, yes.
I can, or Peyton, you might, maybe it's better if you respond to that.
Yeah, again, it's more just identifying pockets and areas of the metro as a whole that could potentially be in support of some medium-density residential. It's currently an unplatted area that is trending towards coming in the city's possession, we'll say. And so that was just an area that the group discussed and identified just another little pocket in there that could potentially be used for medium-density residential to make, you get the most bang for the buck out of the deal. Anyone else who was on the subcommittee kind of speak to any of the other land uses or any other considerations or anything else that you'd like to add, feel free to add.
I'll speak a little bit as to the smaller committee that met. I think we met for close to 2 hours. A lot of consideration into that 8th Avenue that really gives Dilworth a new look to the north. And we really wanted to be purposeful with what we were doing, keeping in mind to the neighbors who are there right now, and making sure that we're able to expand Dilworth with accessible housing to everyone, because we don't want to limit to who can be in Dilworth. And so while we all identified Dilworth, I think, as a single-family majority, you'll see the color on the map represents majority single-family homes. We do include some more development of the medium density with higher density, but the majority really is that low-density residential. And then just making sure we also were intentional with our mixed-use districts as well. That's been new to us in Dilworth. And so making sure we are intentional with those and how we can mix our commercial with our residential and make our city a destination and walkable. And so it's been a long process, and a lot of considerations were discussed.
Adam, can you speak just a little bit more, kind of buffering that point, about I know we use the term missing middle all the time, but when we're talking that 2 to 9 unit, that gap that exists out there right now, like what that really means. It's nothing that was not taken lightly as part of the whole discussion and part of the metro housing study, but we just speak to that a little bit, like that gap that exists and why it's important to fill that.
Sure. So yeah, the missing middle refers to duplexes, townhomes, fourplexes, those sorts of, so anything, really anything between a single-family home and then the apartments that we're really used to around this area, those 24 to 36 plexes. Again, that's the type of housing that is really attractive for first-time home buyers or first-time people that are looking for their first home. It's usually priced a little bit lower than a single-family home. So again, it's a great starting point for people that are, again, finding their first home, starting a family. And we're kind of missing the mark, and it's a community-wide issue, and it's a U.S.-wide issue. Part of that housing study, kind of again going back, what we're finding is that we're looking at a gap of 23,000 homes if we want to keep up with people that want to move to the area, that want to take jobs in the area. The price points they're getting more and more cost prohibitive, especially for single-family homes. If I'm not mistaken, this is maybe a year or two ago, the average price of a single-family home was $425,000 for the community as a whole. A teacher, firefighter, they're not going to be able to afford something like that. So that's where the idea of this missing middle comes, that these are typically homes that can go for maybe, say, $200,000. So incorporating more of that in a community like Dilworth would bring more residents that would be more attractive to different types of residents that would like to live in the community.
Yeah, go ahead, Ryan.
The missing middle was very loud and clear. It's been very loud and clearly told to us for quite a while. So we did want to get on the subcommittee and be able to find places to have more missing middle. But in order to do that, you have to take away from either the high density areas or the low density areas. And I think it's very widely agreed upon that we are largely a one-bed or a single-family house community. And so what we tried to do with this is to take about 5% or so from the high density and shift it to the medium. We did, as far as I know, we did not hardly touch the percentage of single-family homes from the previous land use map. What we did was we shifted from apartment buildings to condos in a couple of areas.
Yeah.
Anything further?
I don't have any other comments or any other?
Okay.
Any other
Okay.
questions? Or-
Any other questions from the planning commission? Otherwise, we can get into our discussion after public comment. Okay. Okay, thank you very much.
Yeah, thank you.
Appreciate all your hard work on this. Okay, that's the end of the staff presentation, and we'll go ahead and take public comments from the audience. I'll just make a note to audience members that the testimony will be limited to 3 minutes in length. Everyone will have an opportunity to speak, but we do encourage participation not to be repetitive. If one person says what you are planning to say, you ask others, we ask others not to repeat the statement. We need everyone coming to the mic to provide their name and address for the record. So I'll just open the meeting to public comment if anyone wants to come forward.
Hi, guys.
Hi.
I'm Tara Sisted. We've lived here for 20 years, my husband and I. Started on 3rd Avenue in a twin home. 1010, could see like the land was completely open. Not against development, but I do have a concern with investment. We moved from 1010 3rd Avenue to 814 4th Avenue. Loved that home. Poured everything we had into redoing that whole home. But watched with Keystone, 4th Avenue turned into a raceway. People would speed. Our kids went from being 2 years old until we moved to Summerwood last year. The twin home became rental south of us. 7 cop cars would be there on an occasion. Getting to our twins being teenagers, it becomes where you don't feel safe. And that's not a fun thing in Dilworth. We're fortunate that we were able to look elsewhere. We looked and we've been eyeing Summerwood, and we finally find a home in Summerwood, and it's everything we've dreamed of. No fences, our kids run through 10 neighborhoods, backyards, and now I see that map and I'm heartbroken all over again. You say that it's getting the most bang for our buck as a city, putting medium housing density in our backyard. What about our investment? We bought November 1st last year. I felt I was one of 86 people, which in a town of 4,000 is disappointing. How are we getting out and getting information from a large group of people? That corridor is going to affect all of Summerwood. I love and appreciate that you're thinking of curves slowing people down. That's not enough. It hasn't done enough. 4th Avenue, what have we done? There's a young family living in my old house, and I wonder about when their kids grow up. I think I'm not against growth, but what are we doing to ensure what we have in place is ready? DGF schools, I'm a former teacher at DGF. That they couldn't get their referendum to pass. Did the study collaborate with the school? Our middle school kids are bursting out in Glendon. The elementary is amazing here in Dilworth, but it's bursting. So I'm just wondering, I love growth, but it can't be at the expense of current investments in low density housing. I get it's a bang for our buck, but that's our backyard. That's our investment, and that's not what we signed up 1 year ago. And so please think about that as you guys move forward. I want growth, and I love Dilworth. I've lived here for 20 years. My kids love the school district, but I don't think it's fair. Like you said, we do not want to disrupt current land, but we can't do it at the expense of getting the most bang for the buck. You have to think about the investment and the families that live in those homes. Thank you.
Thank you.
Hi,
Hi.
I'm Allison Napper. I live at 608 4th Street, so kind of right on the edge of the new development. So the main thing I had, it's not the amount of medium density, because I think everyone did a decent job of the percentage-wise. It's why like right next? Like why can't there be a bigger buffer zone? It's just like I was speaking to, I'm sorry, I don't remember your name, sir.
Don Larson.
Okay, thank you. And all I'm asking for is like 2 rows of single housing. So then you don't go from 70 style homes that are all flat to like a 3 condo living place. I just don't think that's very efficient. I don't think that has a lot of care for the existing residents. And we can say trees take 30 years to build a fence. I don't want a little twig. Sorry if that sounds rude, but I just don't think that's very efficient. And the big thing is, yes, there are medium density next to single family areas, but those homes were built at the same time. I've looked at all the properties and they're built within about 2 to 3 years. Either the medium density was there first and people built their single family homes. So now people that have had these homes since, I'll say mine 78, they don't get a choice of what they're living next to. And you're my backyard neighbor. So there's just no choice. So people that build new homes know exactly what types of housing they're building next to instead of just placing it somewhere, because bang for your buck. Thank you.
Thank you.
Dayton Schwieger. I reside at 1114 Summerwood. So we back up right to the square that lady was talking about here before, my neighbor. So I'm just gonna I just want to echo that I'm on board with them. We talk about the trees and it takes a long time. Like that's the nicest grove in all of Dilworth, I would argue. And we're gonna put up something that's probably just gonna take out all of our shade and all of our trees that we have right there. So I'm just here to voice my opposition to the mid-level next to Summerwood. Thank you.
Thank you.
Good evening. My name's Ken Park. I live at 605 2nd Street Northeast. Had the opportunity to view the city's proposed comprehensive plan and the future land use plan. Overall, I'd say it looks very good. However, I do, along with many property owners that have contacted me, have concerns with the change in the existing land use plan. In the existing plan, vacant land on the south side of the proposed 8th Avenue North corridor from 2nd Street Northeast to 7th Street Northeast is designated for low-density residential, which is the same as the residential development that presently abuts it. The proposed land use plan has changed that to medium-density residential. The plan defines medium-density residential as permitting townhouses, twin homes, duplexes, and multiplex units. The question is on the multiplex units, are they going to be property owned or are they going to be apartments? And I think will zoning allow either or? Earlier in the year, a public meeting was held at the Dilworth Elementary that presented various proposals on the alignment of the 8th Avenue corridor, and a survey was taken with the following question: what best represents the type of homes you want to see along the 8th Avenue corridor extension? The options to the public who attended were 2 types of single units, twin homes, duplexes, townhomes, and multifamily units. You could vote for as many as you supported. 298 votes were accounted for by those attending. 204 or 68% supported single family. On the other choices, multifamily units received only 13 votes or 4%. So single units, twin homes, duplexes, and townhomes made up 96% of the votes. I believe these are all allowed under the existing low-density residential designation. So we're questioning why this survey was done when the outcome has no consideration in this proposed future land use plan. The present land use plan already identifies 25 acres in the plan for medium-density residential. Is there really a need for additional land? The latest proposal for development that I've seen in this area between 2nd Street Northeast and 7th Street Northeast on the south side of the proposed 8th Avenue corridor includes 18 6 to 8 unit apartments for a possible total of 144 units, 28 twin homes, and 16 quad homes for a total of 188 dwelling units. I have a hard time believing with everything combined that this isn't closer to high density versus medium density, unless we're really pushing the fold on that. In reviewing the present land use plan, the majority of the land recognized for medium-density residential is abutting high-density residential, commercial, or abutting future undeveloped low-density residential. I didn't see any abutting on any established single-family developments. Now, on the proposed future land use plan, the area I'm talking about, 2nd Street Northeast to 7th Street Northeast, and a small area along County Road 9 by the XL Power Station are the only areas now identified for medium-density residential that abut existing single-family districts. All the other areas identified for medium density are in undeveloped areas or abutting commercial property or high-density residential. If the city feels there is a great need for this type of multi-housing, why don't you place it on the immediate north side of 8th Avenue, of the 8th Avenue corridor versus abutting it to an established single-family development, which has not been a common choice in Dilworth, and I believe would be a considerable undesirable situation. With my experience in land use, I don't believe this is a favorable transition from a single-family residential area to the medium-density residential development. It carries many unfavorable concerns. The homes impacted have been established for 40 to 50 years with no development to its north because of the farmland. So here's some of the concerns. What will be the impact of noise and the change in the quality of life that homeowners have been accustomed to, especially with 188 housing units abutting their properties? The 8th Avenue corridor will generate enough change in itself. What infrastructure impacts will there be with the proposed high-density development on the water, sewer, and storm sewer in the area? Would any necessary improvements generate an assessment for the existing properties? What will be the quality of construction on apartment buildings and how will they be maintained and kept up? Will we continue to feel we have a safe neighborhood since we presently know everyone when we add a large amount of rental units next to us that will most likely consist of continuous turnovers? In my research, while some studies suggest multifamily developments do not lower single-family home values, others find that negative externalities like noise, traffic, and aesthetics can negatively impact nearby property values. You have a perception versus a reality. The fear of negative impact is often stronger than the reality. If a property's marketability drops, so will the value. Sadly to say, numerous concerns here will not be addressed until after the fact. By then, it's too late. We ask for your consideration on leaving this land in the same designation as identified in the present land use plan, which is low-density residential, which allows townhomes and two-family dwellings. It's easier to change it now than deal with it through a platting procedure and rezoning that will eventually need to be done. In viewing the comprehensive plan, it says its purpose is to allow residents to participate and help guide the city's future. It also says that the plan will ensure that growth makes the community better, not just bigger. I hope that that turns out to be a true statement. Thank you.
Thank you. Any further public comment? Okay, seeing none, we'll go ahead and close the public hearing, and we will move on to the Planning Commission discussion. Well, I just want to first thank everyone for coming and speaking in this public hearing. I know it's hard to speak in public and to voice your opinion, so I appreciate that. And we are here to listen to you. And I'll just talk about a little bit of our process. I think we started this early this year. Was it late last year, Peyton?
Yeah, late last year.
Late
Early
last
this
year, so almost a full year, we've been working on this planning commission, this planning comprehensive plan. And I was here for the 2018 one. I think, Steve, you were as well. And I would say from 2018 to 2025, a lot has changed and none in our control. And whether it be, development in our area, in the metro area, whether it be in the housing market itself, so much has changed. And so we as a planning commission have to take what the professionals give us from MetroCog and all the studies that we get before us. We have to take that information and we have to do what's best for our community. And it's taking us as Dilworth citizens, all sitting here, and trying to blend these together. How do we grow as a community, and how do we keep the current residents in Dilworth happy, right? We have to marry those two, and will we make everyone happy? We will not. It's impossible. When I talk about the medium density, and we talk about buffer zones, from a low density to a medium density, that is the buffer. The buffer between a commercial district and low density, you put those medium and high densities in between the commercial and the low residential. So that's something that we do when we put that plan together, is we talk about the buffing zones. You don't want to put low density residential right next to Aldi's and Walmart. That's why the map has those transitional buffer zones. So I just wanted to first address the very different outlook that from 2018 to 2025 that we do have. And I want to just make sure that everyone has that same understanding. So that's just kind of my first comments from that. As to the comprehensive plan, Peyton, are we taking the plan and the map together
So
today?
there's two different suggested actions that were in your staff reports, and the city council will be evaluating the same exact way, given the recent changes, economic, physical, social nature, the recent road and corridor studies that have been done. That's why we felt it was prudent to separate out the future land use map
Yeah.
to have its own approval process. So there's two motions you would be considering here. So just to forward a recommendation to council on the draft comprehensive plan, and then a motion on the future land use map.
Okay.
And then they'll make that final determination at their next city council meeting.
I guess I'll make one more comment as to a big part with the 8th Avenue development was 4th Avenue. A lot of us use 4th Avenue for that transition from east to west, just because then you're not having to get on that Highway 10. This 8th Avenue is to relieve that pressure on 4th Avenue. The plan, I believe, for the city's point of view is to not have any driveways backing up to 8th Avenue for whatever future development would be. There are some houses on 8th over south of Summerwood that are existing and would have the driveways backing up to 8th Avenue. But that is something that we as a planning commission have discussed a lot on, is the 4th Avenue residents shouldn't have to continue to have that traffic flow between, if it's people going to the coffee house or whatever. We need to have an alternative east-west route and not just Highway 10 and then take off from 4th Avenue. So that has been definitely our consideration as well. Any other discussion points from the planning commission? Questions?
The term was brought up a couple times, bang for your buck. That was the first time I had heard that term as part of our conversations. It is never, bang for your buck was never part of the process that I remember in making any type of decisions or suggestions for the land use map. As far as the south side of 8th Avenue with being medium density, there were a couple of reasons to choose that. I believe Ken came up and talked about having 188 units in that area. That's an area from 2nd Street to 7th Street. It's a very large area. So it sounds like there's 188 units, oh my God, there's so much coming in. That's 5 full blocks of units. So it's not, it sounds like a lot, but I don't think it's as much as it's coming across as far as the statistics that were brought up earlier. The reason we chose to put it on the south side and not the north side, and anyone can correct me if they remember differently, was because it was a smaller section than the north side, so that we could have more single-unit housing on the north side and keep that ratio together of more single-family versus medium density, or low density versus medium density. Are we married to it? No, but it feels to me like no matter where we put a medium density, it's coming across with some kind of a negative connotation with that type of housing that I don't agree with or understand completely. Twin homes don't have bad people living in them. Townhomes, condos, all of those things don't mean more crime. They don't mean anything other than another viable option for people to try and start their lives in that type of a housing concept. So, I mean, those are the reasons that I remember why we put it on the south side. And then it also abutted up against the community park that will eventually be created there. I think that's my feedback for the feedback we were given tonight.
Mark?
Madam Chair, I would like to just say that the comprehensive plan itself, its categories, its policies, I think, after we worked on those quite a bit, and I think they're in good shape as far as that piece of it altogether. I think it looks really good. And with that, I'd like to make a motion that we move the draft, we recommend a draft comprehensive plan to the city council for approval or adoption.
Okay, we have a motion by Mark. Is there a second? Peyton, can you bring the motion language up, please, since we don't have it in our packet today? Thank you. So, okay, so Mark, just to clarify on your motion, the motion to forward a recommendation on the comprehensive plan, the first motion?
Right.
Okay, thank you. Is there a second on that?
I'll second.
All right, and I have a second. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed?
Aye.
Okay. All right, motion passes. All right, and next is the motion for the future land use map as presented. Is there a motion? Is there further discussion?
Do we want to discuss moving it to the north side, moving the medium density to the north side, because there is existing housing on the south side and there isn't on the north yet?
I'll add to that. When you were talking about that, I remember also discussion about our infrastructure that was in place as well. That was a consideration as to where that was going
For the medium density?
for 8th Avenue. Right? So as we develop 8th Avenue, it won't be all at once. It'll be piecemeal as the development happens in Dilworth. And we have to have the development there to drive that 8th Avenue. So if we push it north of, does that require us to do any different infrastructure than what we would have to do if it was south of?
I guess what I'm speaking of is changing where it is medium on the south side to low, and then creating a medium on the north side instead.
Right, but I think the reason why that particular one is there is that there's an actual interest currently
From the developer,
from a developer,
from a
yes.
developer in that area.
Hayden, would you mind putting that
A map.
up there?
That developer has developed other things
Dilworth,
than medium density too.
yes. Steve?
Ryan, maybe to dovetail a little bit on that in understanding, intentional growth, better, not just bigger, I believe was the phrase that was used. To your point, it might be worth considering looking at those that didn't choose, but will have a choice as far as that medium single density to medium density. I don't think, I didn't hear you suggesting that we take that medium density and shift it all the way to the top, but is there some veracity into segmenting that 8th Avenue medium density portion right now and putting in some single density so that those that are moving into those single density understand what it is that they are getting into versus those that are being subjected to something that maybe when they purchased they didn't necessarily consider.
Madam Chair and Planning Commission, so what you're talking about basically is a single-family buffer zone that would go across existing development area and maybe up along 7th Street. That way, when the developer comes in, they're sort of notified that they would have lower density along that area, and that the higher density, as was discussed before, would move to either the middle of the area.
Taking into consideration some of the what we've heard tonight, I think that's worthwhile to have some discussion about.
So you're suggesting segmenting that medium density into a sliver of yellow on the bottom with the rest staying orange?
That is
A
an
suggestion.
alternative that we can present. Again, in the spirit of not being married to the idea, it's, again, I think it's worth consideration.
Could we, in the spirit of looking at the, to the east on 8th and also just west of the regional park, can we, if we're going to, let's say, Steve, have a single family, new single family buffer, but that developer might say, well, I want more potential for that medium density. Could we mirror that medium density on the north of 8th so they don't lose the capacity of their medium density, but we also give that buffer of new development, low density? So you wouldn't lose any of the square footage of the medium density. It would just get split to the top of 8th and then to the current residents, it would be that. I don't know developmentally how that would look, how big of a buffer zone you would need.
Yeah, Madam Chair, Planning
Yeah.
Commission, when the developer discussed that, he had both. He had larger units and smaller units within that development. This basically would cause a shift of how they wanted to lay it out. But there's still area within there to lay that same development out if it's turned around.
Yeah, because that's another thing that, and there needs to be enough room. We don't want the driveway access. Therefore, you have to have separate access, separate streetways within that area.
Yeah, but I think you could still do that and accommodate the step up in density.
Okay.
And so how the proposal that we saw, there'd be like a horseshoe, we'll call it, that kind of comes through here. I'm sorry, I don't have a pointer, but a hand is good enough here. So there'd be like a little roadway that comes all the way across. So theoretically, yeah, you could have single family, I guess that'd be the back door of a single family row of homes through there potentially.
Yeah, you could have attached single family or single family separately or whatever, but they had that in their proposed development, at least the sketch plans we were looking at.
Yeah,
Which I don't think would necessarily,
change what this looks like.
that, and it wouldn't eliminate the potential for twin home type developments
Right,
either. So I think that's a point of clarification too. It doesn't mean, again, you can always, there's always gonna be a buffer, to your point, at somewhere along the way, just picking the right spot for it and what that actually means there. So it could be, you know, sort of the happy medium of it with a twin home type situation south of, we'll call that 7th Avenue or whatever we'd call that horseshoe street through there.
yeah, I mean, that's good to note. I mean, in Woodbridge and Keystone, all of the twin home area is low density, so a twin home going in would be a low density. Peyton, what is like the difference between the middle and the low density? Just so we have clarification on that. Is it just the more than two?
Yeah, so and there's a difference between zoning and our future land use map. Sometimes they can get a little wonky when talking about it. But effectively, what we were talking about, like out in Keystone, for example, even though it's shown as low-density residential, that doesn't necessarily mean it's zoned R1.
Yeah.
You know, that's a difference. So that's zoned R2, which is somewhat to what I'm alluding to.
Yep.
This fact, like that south portion of a 7th Avenue could be an R2 zone potentially, then an R3 up to 8th Avenue north of there. And there are some parameters in our zoning ordinance when it comes to medium density residential and how many units you can go up to. The good thing about how our zoning ordinance is set up is anytime once you get above a certain unit amount, it has to go through the PUD process.
Right.
I think that's another thing too to understand about even what's proposed right now, is that the planning commission would have control over it more than just you can go and do whatever you want out there.
Yeah, so I was gonna ask Dawn a follow-up question, the PUD process. So, I mean, technically, if we left that as a medium-density area, it's a development tool. It's not the zoning of the area. If a developer came in, Dawn, and said, we want to develop that area, how do we as a planning commission and then the city council address this issue?
Well, it'll probably, Madam Chair, Plan Commission, it will probably come in as a PUD. And if you have the land use designated with the sliver of R1 with your intention that be that sort of a zoning from a single family to maybe up to a townhome, an attached townhome or that kind of thing, then the spirit of the PUD should follow that as far as how it's laid out. You could use that either to approve it or reject it at the time.
Is that 7th Avenue that attaches to 7th Street on, just below Summer? Yep. Is that's a road that actually connects to 7th Street? And there's a there's the low-density houses on the south side of it. If that came straight across,
Right.
that's where we'd be looking at.
Correct.
You can see how there is room there for a sliver of
I see what you're
of
saying.
single-family homes
Yep.
already
I see what
there.
you're saying.
Yeah, it would come off here, but yeah, I understand what you're saying.
Yeah.
And I think it's important to note that 8th Avenue isn't there yet. So I mean,
It can be moved.
it's on paper.
Yep.
True.
We adjusted.
Yes.
It does have to come out at that spot, though, to connect to the
Yeah.
area.
Right,
Right.
right.
But,
Yeah.
yeah, the rest of it is maneuverable.
So right now in our R3 zoning district, as far as like what is permitted, residential use is single family and 2-family dwellings. So you can put a single family home in an R3 zoning district. It has to be less than 8 units. That's really the kicker. So you can't go in and put in a 16-unit apartment complex. And when I think of apartments, because I know that term was used a few times tonight, apartments, I think of a shared common area, one building, and that's not necessarily what's being developed, more condominium style, we'll say, similar to what you would see, you know, in existence over here west of where the, you know, fields are located. and then 2-unit single-family attached dwellings, then 2-unit condominiums as part of a larger scale family attached or condominium complex. So in essence, that's sort of what we were getting to, is that it would probably go through a PUD process if we're doing anything more expansive.
Are there height restrictions on those as well?
Yep. And I believe, let's see if I've got that. Which you can control that as well as part of a PUD process. But our 35, which is pretty typical, in which we see in all of our residential zoning districts.
So I have a question too, as far as, I guess we have a mechanism to change things when, according to, after it is approved, there's still a mechanism to adjust, to amend, and that kind of thing. So I just wonder how much power do we have to do that, and what does it take? So we have to have some kind of plan, and everybody won't be pleased, but, I mean, if we have some kind of mechanism in place to, maybe if it doesn't quite work out, to tweak it or do something else. I mean, how hard is that? Is that something that we could look at as kind of as a, some way to go forward?
And I'm not sure if I'm gonna fully answer your question here, but I think the best way to address it is get to where you want to right now. If it's what you see there, roll with it. If it's having a one notch below on the lower density side, that would also allow, when we set the zoning as an R2, to allow for twin homes or something similar of that variety. When you're setting your future land use map, you really need to do your best, put your best foot forward when trying to adhere to it for future decision making. You know, you don't want to just say, well, we'll go with this and deal with it at the time. That's not really fair to the public, the developer, anyone involved, right? You know, you really want to be intentional about what you are setting forward in your future land use map. Now, if there are changes of an economic, physical, or social nature, and that future land use map needs to be adjusted at a later time, we go back to the drawing board then and go back and try and prove those things and adjust the future land use map before we even set the zoning of a property. So in a roundabout, I don't know if I'm fully answering your question, but I would recommend, you know, going with what you feel would be the best use of the property going forward, and for all parties involved.
I agree with that.
I think either way, correct me if I'm wrong, Peyton, the steps would be the same anyways. We would have to notice a public hearing if
Yep.
we amended anyway, so.
Correct.
The steps would be the
Yep.
same. But
So can I just get the temperature of the room then? I mean, what's the commission thinking? Are, like, to put that essentially one row of single-family housing along the existing houses between Second and Seventh?
I think you should flip-flop them.
Or okay, so again, I'm just trying to, I'm trying to visualize this, and and for me, if we're looking at what was is Second Street to Seventh Street, again, so Mr. Rader's talking about flipping it and moving the
North
medium
of Eighth.
density above it to the north side of 8th Avenue.
Correct.
Is that, okay, because I was thinking maybe that we'd maintain that, but put a sliver of yellow or whatever.
I think both options have been discussed,
Okay, and I
but
just,
with that, if we look to the west,
Okay.
and you look, where we have 4th Avenue Northeast and go north, you have existing single-family,
nope, to the west. a little bit more.
more over to the west, because that's abutting medium density, I
We do the
believe.
same thing.
Yes, so you're gonna have to do the same thing there.
And that's where my head was at. I
Yeah.
mean, so it's the same argument on
It
the
is.
east and west side.
It is.
And I don't, like I said, I wanted to make sure that I was in the same headspace as everybody else with regards to how do we finalize this land use map in terms of how how we maximize our growth opportunities for the city of Dilworth. And that's where I'm at, and we're looking at this. So I'm gonna step back from that conversation and let you continue to develop and see where this goes.
And I'm not here to speak for the developer, but I will convey a message that they conveyed to Don and I, is that what they proposed or talked about with and brought to the city council recently was, and it kind of gets back to Adam's point on the supply and demand issue. Fully eliminating it or flipping it to the 8th Avenue, north of 8th Avenue, it can be done, obviously. They would not develop because there's just not the market for it right there. I think that's where their mind is more at this time. Again, I'm not defending or saying it's right or wrong, just giving their viewpoint on it.
Do you think it devalues the land north of it?
Do I think it? I don't
Or
think
would that be I don't know, I guess we're not talking about how the developers are thinking, but would that be their mindset that flipping that would devalue that land? Because it's the same argument, what it's butting up against those neighborhoods, and the people here are worried about it devaluing their property.
I don't think so.
No, because at that point you would have existing medium density with lower density being backfilled, basically. They would have the option whether they'd want to be there or not. We're trying to accommodate the current residents' concerns, so.
100%.
So the developer, you can't speak for them, but they are requesting, or they came up with this plan because they're getting requests for medium density and not because they had seen our future land maps that said this was going to be medium density? Because that's what I thought they were coming in with medium density plans because we had already sketched this part out and they were asking about it.
That's why they haven't developed up there. There's no need for single-family homes, and they don't feel they can sell it right now, single-family residential.
So if we kept it as a sliver, they'd be fine because they essentially have that kind of already in ballpark place with their current plan?
I can't speak to that, but I can say that I feel that would probably be more palatable than fully eliminating it.
But if we keep this as is and they go in and build their medium density, the city would have to build the road at least to the park, correct?
Yes.
8th Avenue, we'll go to the
Yep.
park. If we flip them,
Well, I say that.
they'd still have to, the city would still have to build that part, but they would develop on the north side, not the south side.
Based on the future land use map, yeah.
Because that road would get built either way if they want to develop on either side of that 8th Avenue corridor.
And one thing to clarify too, because the council and them were looking at multiple options when they were originally looking at this. And so one, again, because road construction is so much right now, one option they talked about was horseshoeing around, like I talked about, but not extending this roadway for the time being.
So it'd just be coming in on a little bit on 8th, coming down, almost
Correct.
having a
Yep.
roundabout area
Yep.
and going back.
Yes.
That was the city council that discussed that.
There was lots of options floated out there. So 8th Avenue is billed as an area-wide assessment, if you look at our area-wide assessment map. So basically everything north of where my hand is right here is kind of in the 8th Avenue district. And so just in a way to sort of minimize that impact for the time being, that was being discussed about extending the roadway over, I don't know what that would be, 300 feet or whatever, then horseshoeing it around, but not connecting up to another roadway.
Which could be done on the north side of the road as easily as the south.
I don't feel like, I don't know. I don't feel like flipping it. Then we just create the same problem to the west. You can't flip that one. I mean,
Madam Chair.
yes, Steve.
And maybe just a comment as I guess still contemplating. I do think that there's a little inherent unfairness to being handcuffed by the desires of the developer. although they, as we've talked about, they need to walk in partnership with the public, with the city, and with us. So just internally, to kind of give you a window into my thought processes, that's where my confliction arises. How do we meet the developer in a manner that's beneficial to them while also being beneficial to the city without displacing as few individuals as possible in the sense of where they're coming at this from. So, I mean, where I land on that more often as I've thought through hearing some of the comments is that horseshoe option that you presented, Peyton, providing that buffer, seems to be the appropriate compromise that I think meets the public, meets what has been discussed, and appreciate the subcommittee that came together and met COG's contributions, but then also meeting the developer as well.
My thought process was, we've looked at this map for how many hours over how many meetings, right? And say, take the developer out of it. We know there's a housing need. We know that there's interesting demand out there. If you had, I mean, because we have the pen, right? We get to make the plan. What's the most ideal transition? And is that horseshoe sliver piece of it and maintain the efforts? I don't know. I think take a break, and if we had the perfect world and the perfect scenario, what does it look like? How do you draw it out?
Well, Madam Chair, and in response to that, Chad, I agree with you. These colors are blending together. And that's why I appreciate the opportunity for the public comment, because I think that for me has at least taken away the lens that I previously had and put a new one on, which I think is a healthy way to re-look at what we have here. And maybe, Peyton, can you provide maybe a little bit of guidance on, if we can't come to a consensus today, what are the ramifications if we move this to a January meeting and table this discussion for now?
I don't know if there's any ramifications necessarily. The other parts of the comp plan, I didn't want to hold it up just on the merits of when, 1,000 feet of yellow or orange color on the map. So I don't know if it really impacts much on the Metro COG end. They would just a matter of them taking probably just a handful of minutes to update the map for us. That said, I mean, if you also have the information in front of you that you feel comfortable with, I know from a staff perspective, I guess, kind of not to put you on the spot, Don, would you feel comfortable with something like that? The compromised option? You think that really, does that satisfy what we're trying to, or what they're trying to accomplish up there, or anyone?
I
in that
think
separation?
Yeah, I think well, thank you. Yeah, I think it does. But I do think if you're going to apply it there, you should apply it over to the other area to the
Right.
west. Because you have existing residential development, you're going to run into the same issue over there. Now, what should that be? Should it be at least a 200-foot mark on there? I think, in my mind, it tells the developer, this is really where we want the development to go. Bring us in something that shows this. Come in good faith and show us something that is going to provide the buffer that we want. And I think tonight, I don't have an issue with doing that and then moving forward with approval of the map.
I think it'd be more problematic if there was a consensus that once it gets to setting the zoning, that it has to be single family R1 only. But if that flexibility is there to do the R2 zoning with potential twin homes, I could see where that would be more palatable, in my estimation.
More
mean-
palatable for the developer?
Yes.
You look at Keystone and that's an R2.
That's what I'm saying,
So
like how
it's-
Keystone is.
Yeah.
That's what I mean.
Nobody.
And it can
I
still
don't
be
think-
single-family homes.
I don't think
there.
anyone's contested having Keystone being an R2, that you have some twin homes, you have some very beautiful
Right.
homes. It's, it just is kind of how the world is today. But, so can we go forward today with instructions to MetroCog to give us that buffer between the current north boundary of our residence and what the medium density proposed would be on those two pieces, excluding the one that's connecting right up to the medium density that's already there.
Right.
Yeah. And I mean, does it have to be a set footage? I mean, this is really just a guideline. I don't
No,
believe it
it
needs
just
to be
has to be a-
200 feet or,
Pardon me,
Yeah.
Madam Chair. Yeah, just coloration on the map. I don't know if Adam can come up and speak to how they would accomplish that or what it would look like. But I just see a line.
Extend,
Yep.
extend a single row of yellow
Yeah, it fulfills the intent of what's trying to be
on,
accomplished there.
on both of those oranges.
yeah.
The other thing with the 8th Avenue coming across 40th Street, that, there are two boxes. We had also talked about having the avenue going between those two. I can't remember what's over there. There's a lift station.
Yep.
So if we move that further even south, then we don't have to worry about that orange part at all. But for the specific parts of this, I think extending that sliver of houses on the south side of both of those orange locations would be sufficient to stay within our medium percentage that we're trying to get to, as well as provide some things for the current landowners that when they purchased this house, it was yellow.
Madam Chair,
Yeah, Steve.
and do we want to extend that same sentiment to that notch out
I was just gonna bring that forward. Yeah.
of Summerwood area?
Yeah, in the same light, how do we then treat, if we're gonna say this is across the board, how we're gonna try to accommodate, how do we address the Summerwood cutout?
Madam Chair?
Yes,
Can I ask a series of questions about that property?
if Peyton allows, certainly.
Because I think there's, like, when I look at this, what did I write down? Dale, was it Dylan?
I think he left.
Dayton,
He left.
probably one of the truest, kind of like, that is arguably one of the nicest groves of trees in the city of Dilworth.
Development doesn't always mean trees have to go
And so
down.
when we look at that, I want, inside of that, how big is it?
Yeah.
And what is the best fit for that size of land? Because one of our policies is like environmentally friendly, right? Do things that, I'm not saying go green, but part of it is like trees and green space, and I don't want to see those cut down. But I don't know what fits inside there. So how big is it? And then what could arguably be a quality use for that dirt? I think it's a beautiful homestead. I'd hate to see it.
Chad, we annexed that in. It's
Oh,
about a
oh,
3-acre parcel. It was a little farm.
Sorry, well,
3 acres.
okay, thanks.
3.7.
Okay,
Sorry.
So when we look at like, and so how does that, when we look at 3 acres, I mean, does it work to have medium density in there? Can you put a set of condos in there in that setting? I don't know the answer to that question. I really don't, but I think it's worthy of discussion. Is the other part is maintaining the integrity of that 3 acres. I like those trees. I think it does provide some, not fencing, but what's the word I'm looking for?
Screening.
Screening, yeah, some natural screening, so if there is something different in there, or whatever the case may be, and maybe R2 is the right zoning for that too, I don't know.
Yeah, I would like to say, you can always have some wonderful medium density residential in there, right? It doesn't always have to mean low income. You could have great medium density in there
100%.
without having the trees down, or you could, I mean, trees don't live forever. Let's also state that they have lifespan, but, I don't know. If it's R1, R2, and R3, Peyton, is that low density on this map? Our ordinances, and I know there's some, that's where it gets really kind of confusing, but I don't know.
I think for simplicity, your orange is gonna be your R3.
Okay. So yellow would be R1 and R2.
Yeah, just for simplicity purposes.
So
And R3 means what, Madam Chair?
R3 means single family up to 8 units.
So inside of
8
3
units.
acres, there could be 8 units.
Absolutely.
I mean, inside of 3 acres, you could have 8 single family houses.
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely. I mean, you get 4 an acre,
Yep.
so you could put 12 actually,
Yep.
if you want. I mean, if, maybe even more depending upon the size of the lot.
Right.
So, I like that. I like the idea of something going in there without disturbing much of Mother Nature, and I don't know how we use our land use map first for that. And then zoning after that, I'm not sure. I don't know the answer to that question, but I'm glad I asked it though.
Yeah, Madam Chair and Plan Commission, really, and Chad, to answer your question, you'd have to lower the density, I mean, of what you guided for, if you're gonna try and save more trees.
Okay. You don't think you can get 8 units in there?
3 acres. You could get 8 units in there theoretically. You could be bringing in a cul-de-sac or a road with a cul-de-sac on the end of it.
And that, again, most likely would have to come before us and city council as a PUD, most likely, or,
More than likely, it would probably come in as a PUD.
but it also wouldn't have to. I don't know, I'm just trying to get.
No, it could be traditionally platted too.
Yeah. The plat
If you
would come
low-
before us as well.
Pardon me?
The plat would also have to come before us.
Absolutely.
Yes.
Any development would
Yeah.
have to, yeah. Other than somebody just buying it and putting a single-family house on it.
Right. Any further discussion?
What is the current status of that property?
It's owned by someone, privately owned.
It's low density,
I think it's transitional zone.
it's transitional.
Yeah.
Any further discussion? Otherwise, I think I have a couple choices we could talk about for moving forward. So we have the motion that was given to us, or are we wanting to propose the MetroCog go back, draw up, I guess, what their recommendation from our recommendation is? They're the professionals. They've done this. They've heard, you've listened, been here. I think they can work with city staff, get a proposal put together for January.
Or does it just need to be changed in with our suggestions?
Yes, you can
And
easily-
city council votes next week.
Yeah, if you feel comfortable with doing the buffer option, we'll call it, then that's a pretty simple adjustment we can do for next week.
I think that I'm comfortable with the buffer on the 2 areas. I'm just now, I don't know what we're doing with the Summerwood.
I think we should change that to low density also.
Keep it as transitional.
Well, I mean, it stays transitional till we
Yeah.
set the zoning
Oh,
on it,
okay.
but
Yeah.
it would stay low-density residential, that's a possibility. It would probably be limiting in the sense that you'll probably get a single home on there, most likely.
Chair, I think from my perspective, I guess understandably, city council meets next week, but I'd like to see this again in January.
If we can come to an agreement on something to do with Summerwood, I'd be comfortable sending it to the city council next week. We've looked at it for a year. This is gonna be.
What's one more month?
Well, there's that too, but it's, to me, it feels like we should put a bow on it. Because we're gonna, every time somebody comes in to develop, we're gonna look at it again. And we can adjust it at that point. So these,
No.
we've got pen, we're writing this in pen, but it's erasable ink.
Not every time. I will say from our 2018 to now, I don't think we've ever needed to,
The only adjustment we made is when we were doing the mixed-use
the
districts.
the rail district and
In the downtown.
downtown mixed use.
Mixed-use
Okay.
districts, yep.
Yeah, that's right. We did the zoning plus
Future
the
land use.
future. Okay,
Yes.
thank you, Peyton. So we did, sorry.
Serious.
So do we have a motion that anyone wants to put on the table?
I'd motion that we send it back to MetCog and reevaluate in January of 2026.
Okay, we have a motion from Steve,
Second.
and there's a second. All those in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed?
Aye.
Aye.
Okay, so I have one sheet for this, so hold on.
Call.
Okay, Mike, you second that?
Yes.
Mike. And Ryan, you opposed?
Opposed.
And Mark? Opposed. Okay. First, second. Okay, I think I have that noted. Okay. So we have two, okay, so the motion passes that this will move to the January Planning Commission meeting with MetroCrog, hopefully understanding all of our comments and concerns.
Have we given them direction on Summerwood?
No,
Okay?
we're on the other one for that fact.
Well, I feel like the buffer zone, okay, let's clarify. The instructions to MetroCog?
Like from my perspective, I'd like to take Mr. Sloan's suggestion. What does it look like with the buffer? What does it look like with law?
So can we have two options, Steve? Is that what you're asking? One with a buffer and one with maybe an alternative?
Sure.
And those will be points of discussion. Any questions? Okay. Are you confused?
No, I have a question
Okay.
about the procedure then. So if it's coming back to this board, do we have to have another public hearing in order to finalize this?
No. You had your public hearing.
Correct.
You do not have to have another public hearing.
But we still hold a vote to
You're
bring
still gonna
the
vote on it, but
approved
it's still
one.
in your, it's in your purview. It's at your board now. It'll be at your board again in January.
Okay.
So then, Madam Chair, you said there was the buffer zone on the two areas that are
Adjacent to,
existing neighborhoods.
yeah.
What about the Summerwood 3 acres? Did we have direction for MetroCog there? What direction are we gonna give MetroCog there? I'm sorry, I did not hear that piece.
I guess there's not many options, orange or yellow.
Yeah.
So
So it'd be the
look at both of them.
alternative, which would be just low density.
Yeah.
Can we just decide real quick, like what color we want to tell them to paint that box?
It sounds like the reason that we're having the discussion is to change it to yellow,
Yeah,
which I don't,
I like the idea of yellow. Maybe someone comes in, buys a 3 acre chunk, lives in Dilworth.
So it sounds
That's where
like
the
there's a
mayoral mansion
consensus to
goes.
change it to yellow,
I think
to
so.
give direction to
the
MetroCog.
mayoral mansion.
Well, the consensus was
Yeah,
to
we
see
can't
this
afford that.
again, so we can have further discussion.
Okay.
That was the motion, so that we could see it in January and have discussion on it, I guess.
Right, but you can come to consensus on what you'd like to see on the map to give them further ideas on what they should be representing back to you in January.
Right. So one being the buffer with the yellow adjacent to the current residential.
Yep,
And an alternative for the Summerwood would be low density.
okay, thank you.
Yep. Okay. Moving on to the next
Next
public hearing. Okay, we're going to have the public hearing for the amending Title 15, Land Usage, Chapter 153, Zoning Ordinance as it pertains to outdoor storage. We'll open this meeting at 7:10. And is there a staff presentation, Peyton?
I'll let Community Development Director Lorson handle this one.
Wonderful.
Sure. Madam Chair and Planning Commission, staff has made several modifications to the proposed draft ordinance since our initial review of it back at the September 3rd Planning Commission meeting. Since the November 5th Planning Commission meeting, staff has made some final edits to this. One, per discussion, was removal of 2C, and the language there was any trailer with 2 or more recreational equipment items shall be counted as one item. So we're saying that's implicit, and therefore it was asked to be removed and has been. And then the second one was the addition of the R3 residential, limited multifamily. We realized with the lot sizes, this could be applicable to that district as well. So we wanted to make sure that we included the R3 district. Those are the two changes that have been made. And again, the reason for this is to clarify the existing language in the ordinance, improve administration of the requirements, and ensure greater conformity with the off-street parking requirements and standards that are in the existing ordinance. Thank you.
Thanks, Don. Any discussion, questions on this ordinance? Becky, are you comfortable, city staff comfortable with this? I know I asked last time, but with the few changes that were made? Yes. That'll be helpful. If no further discussion or questions, we can entertain a motion.
Did we close the public hearing?
Oh, sorry. Okay, we have staff presentation. We have, any comments from the audience? Everyone left. Okay, we'll close the public meeting, 7:12. Planning Commission discussion. Thanks, Mark, for your order.
I'll make a motion to forward recommendation to the Dilworth City Council to adopt a resolution amending Title 4 Land Usage Chapter 153 Zoning Ordinance as it pertains to outdoor storage as presented.
Second.
I have a question real quick, this says, okay, go back to that, sorry. I'm just concerned, I've said amending title 15, 20, that should be, is it 15 or 25?
The agenda says 15, the top of the ordinance says 25.
And that said, scroll down, title 4. So which one are we amending here, just so we can get that straight? So,
Outdoor storage ordinance, we'll get the numbers. corrected on it.
Yeah.
okay, I think it's section 4, title 15.
Yes.
Yes, okay. With that change, with that motion, okay? Bruce, you good with that?
I am good with that.
Okay, is there a second?
Second.
And a second. All those in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed? All right, motion passes. Okay, next item on the agenda is to receive and file building permits.
So moved.
We have a motion and a second. All those in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed? Motion passes. Project updates. Peyton or Don?
Only thing to make note of is we are progressing nicely with the design of the community center, still on track to have everything completed through the winter time with hopes of getting it bid out later on this winter and spring, early summer construction.
How did public meeting go on the community center?
Went great.
No objections.
Lots of feedback.
Completed by next fall.
It's anticipated to be maybe a year, 18-month construction time window.
Loco Days 2027?
Yeah, hopefully by then. They'll be pushing it, but yes.
Yeah. Okay, anything else?
That's all I have.
Okay, I'll go ahead and adjourn today's meeting. Thanks, everyone.